Coach, I just want to go back to the 2019 season. Obviously, your team went winless in the SEC, lost in the first round of that SEC tournament. But looking forward to the 2020 season, 3 upsets against ranked opponents. You get yourself into the big dance conversation. You don't make the tournament, but the WNIT championship run. What do you think just changed between that 2019 offseason to the 2020 season?
Oof, well, 2019 the season was probably, I'd like to think, my most challenging as a head coach, just because, you know, the limelight you're under at the Power 5 level.
The reality is that every night, like, we don't have a consistent group as far as bringing everything to the table. But here's what I know. I know that the people that I'm starting are bringing effort and intensity, and you know, I feel like that's what I can ask for and expect right now.
I've had that challenge before when building Jacksonville, but not with the type of limelight per se. So that was tough. But moving forward, we knew we had the #1 recruiting class in the SEC coming in. We knew they would be young, but we really got lucky with Shakira Austin, the addition of her in the off season. I mean, just a program changer, really came in and lifted up the profile immediately once she was cleared to play.
I want to definitely focus on Shakira just because she was a major portion to your offense last season. I think she had 14 double-doubles, but she wasn't eligible for you guys until late October. What would this past season have looked like without Shakira?
You know, I don't know. I know that there would have been a tremendous amount of improvement. There were so many things to factor, like COVID. I think it would have been really, really tough with COVID and a slew of freshmen, you know, and sophomores. I think it would be tough. Kira brought the experience, the team, they really respect her and leaned on her leadership, and she had been where they're trying to go. And so that was, of course, something that she brought that no one else can bring on the floor. And so I think it would have been challenging, but at the same time, everybody would have still been able to see the trajectory of the program, which is upward.
What was super interesting, too, was the fact that Shakira had been a part of a Big Ten championship caliber team at Maryland, and yet she decided to transfer to, at the time, an Ole Miss team that didn't have a lot to show for it, along with, again, you mentioned that #1 recruiting class in the SEC, 9th nationally, bringing 2 5-stars in guard Jacoria Bracey as well as forward Madison Scott. What were you telling your recruits as well as Shakira of what you were planning to do to get them to take a chance on Ole Miss?
Yeah, I mean, they're some tough cookies, aren't they? Well, people come to Ole Miss for women's basketball for 3 reasons. They believe in themselves, they believe in me, and they believe in the vision of the program. And our vision is simple. You know, you can come here and make a legacy for yourself. You can be a part of something. You can go somewhere else where they're already where they're trying to go, and you can be a part of it, or you can build it in the way that you want. And I just feel like when you're a part of something from the beginning, you can take more pride in it, knowing that you have really been a part of where it's gonna go. You know, even beyond probably when Shakira leaves. But Shakira wanted a different experience. She has said this publicly. She wanted to play for a woman of color. She wanted to challenge herself. I mean, easily she could have gone probably anywhere she wanted. So the fact that she chose shows her character and toughness.
And then going off of what you were often saying towards the tail end of the season was that this team, what you saw in 2020, was a year ahead of schedule. Was there a point in the season where you were looking at your team, maybe a game that you said, all right, things are starting to click?
Yeah. Yeah, probably when we beat Kentucky the first time, I said, okay, now we're ready to go. Because before that, we had lost 6 in a row. Just such a young team. We were the 10th youngest team in the country. COVID hurt us with the pause. It was this type season was not good or for the advantage of a young team. All right, because you miss a lot of the things you would have been able to do. The rules were so strict and necessary. It stopped us from the fellowship we probably would have had to build the chemistry that we needed. Nevertheless, I think things turned around after that game because I don't think my freshmen realized how hard it was to win an SEC game. Yeah, we beat Auburn, but I think that was a game where they said, okay, if we're going to do this, we got to stop beating ourselves. Because if you think about it, we had lost to Tennessee by a basket or 1 point or whatever. We had a bunch of close losses, but we didn't know how to finish. And I felt like that was the game where they felt good about knowing what to do and how to win games.
The finishing part was kind of like you mentioned, the most interesting to watch your team this past season because it always felt like your team was in it, the fourth quarter came, and then just kind of got away. What were you telling your team? How do you teach your team to finish down the stretch like that?
Yeah, well, basically I told them I can't do it for you. My staff, we can't do it for you. You have to do this. You have to win this game, And then we showed them ways where we could have won the game throughout the game. So there's a game within the game that you have to play. It's a game within the game each quarter, each situation. And so we would break it down and show it to them and just educate them. One thing I got from a coach in the SEC, Frank Martin, he goes, whenever you feel real angry, just teach. And so that stuck with me about 2 years ago. And so instead of being angry with them, we just continued to teach and show them and educate them and knowing that at some point the light would turn on.
Your team ends up finishing the season 15-12 overall, 4-10 in conference. You get that big upset over Arkansas in the SEC tournament, that first round game.
That's an Arkansas team that beat UConn. That is a legitimate team. They're going to be a 3 seed. And we beat them. Like my young pups, I had 4 freshmen on the floor at one time.
And that's when your team starts becoming a contender for potentially making the NCAA tournament. However, your team doesn't get in. At the time, did you feel your team was big dance worthy?
No. I mean, it would have been cool for us to go to the tournament, but my whole life, Courtney, has been where I had to take the stairs, and I just don't believe in skipping steps. And if you look at the history of most programs, they go to NIT first. So I was incredibly grateful for the opportunity. Now, do I think we would have done well had we got in? Absolutely. With the way we play, our style, we had the momentum going. Had Kira not gotten hurt versus Tennessee in the fourth quarter, who knows? Maybe we would have been in the tournament and we would have made some noise. But I just think everything worked out the way that it should have. And it gave our team the opportunity to get 5 more games, which will be crucial for us.
Your team ends up earning that top seed in the WNIT, first postseason appearance since your arrival here. And then you find out you test positive for COVID-19. What was your reaction in that moment? Did you believe it at the time?
Well, first, I was in a state of shock. But I thought that it may happen because one of my coaches got it. And so I was like, oh my God, we're all around each other all the time, preparing for games, recruiting, that kind of stuff. But when I got the call at 5:50 that morning, I was distraught. But I immediately had to take my own advice, and I tell the players, like, in life, the wind is gonna get knocked out of you, and make sure you have people around you that's gonna, breathe air in you, and make sure you get back up because the people that get back up are the ones that are successful. The people that don't usually live a life of misery. And so instead of feeling like the victim, immediately I reached out to my staff, to my team, and let them know the news and say, hey, we got to continue to move forward because the opportunity was way bigger than me. I've coached in the NIT, and that was a big moment for our team. And so what people don't know, we only had one coach available the whole week. So like Arminti had the practices the whole week, because we had close contacts and the whole nine. So, what was really good, it was to see everybody come together, see my leadership step up, and technology is something else, because I was plugged in. So like I was like a ghost in here, like talking in practice, stopping practice, that kind of stuff. It was incredible.
How did your players react to, I guess, hearing, for lack of a better word, the voice of God coming over and telling them what to do during practice?
Yeah, well, the first time they were like looking around and shocked, and then they got used to it. And so, because it was important that they had a comfort. It wasn't anything like I didn't believe in my staff, and they're more than capable to run practices when I'm not around. But it was a comfort because of my group being so young. They don't do well with change, and so they needed something that was consistent for them. And so my voice brought that, and so it was cool to do my part. But it was a very challenging time for me as a coach, as a mom of two, not to be around my kids and a wife. It was a very challenging time.
Your team ended up doing just fine without you during a particularly challenging time, competing without their head coach in the postseason, but your team ended up finding itself in the championship game. What did you learn just from sideline watching your team go through that?
Well, I understand how my parents and my husband feels at every game. The anxiety was incredible. I think if you're a great leader or a good leader, you should be able to leave your team and the imprint still be there. And that's what I was really proud of, to see our players and coaches follow through with the foundation that I had already laid. It was pretty seamless. I enjoyed talking to them at halftime and after the games and before the games, but I thought it gave an opportunity for a lot of players to grow and step up. And I was just really excited to give that opportunity even for my staff, my coaches, and because you don't get that, And so all in all, it worked out for what it needed to be, and I think it's going to really help us moving forward.
Something that sticks with me was after the championship game, your team obviously lost to Rice. However, you were completely amped up.
This was the best thing for us. And I don't want to say NCAA tournament doesn't matter, but we would have went and got ousted in the first round. Let's just call it spade a spade. This was incredible for my group. It's a win for us. I know we didn't win the championship, but this was a win for us.
And you said this was the best case scenario for your team.
Yeah.
Why was that?
Well, because here's the thing, people don't know this, but Rice 2 years ago was in the NCAA tournament. Like they were a tournament team. They were not a young team. They were extremely experienced, and it was their time they should have probably went to the NCAA tournament and fell short in their conference game. I watched it, didn't know I would be playing them, but just, watching hoops because we had that delay before they named the 64. It was good for us because we needed to play. My team missed a lot of games due to snow and COVID, so that really hurt us. I think we missed like 6 games, which our record would have probably even looked even more different if we had gotten those opportunities. And so, listen, for me, I wanted to win the NIT, but this is a program we want to play in the big dance. You know, and I love Renee, who hosts the NIT, and what the NIT provides and what it is about. But that's not final destination for us. You know, like next year it's NCAA tournament or bust. And I'm not afraid to say that. So I thought it was the best case scenario for us to compete against different styles, continue to play deep into March, so that they can know what that feels like for the future.
This past season obviously had so many different challenges, just from having to practice and play throughout COVID, as well as, you know, countless social justice issues continuously going on. And yet, while it would normally, I think, be hard for teams to just necessarily win games in a season like this, your team almost seemed like it thrived. Yeah. How was your team able to grow amongst the chaos?
You know, I just think young people are resilient. Myself and my coaches and our staff, we continue to be positive throughout everything. No one knew what to expect, right? Like this was unbelievable for everybody, and I think all of us grew through it. And so most times, if I panic, my players will panic, my staff will panic. And I just took everything one day at a time and, you know, tried to be positive as much as possible, and just had an incredible sense of gratitude because even though that there were a bunch of challenges, we had an opportunity to play. And I've always been a person that really values gratitude. And that's the type of energy we kept the whole season, just thankful for the opportunity.
I know, obviously, it's no ceilings for you. Yes. You talk about that all the time. What can people expect to see from Ole Miss women's basketball looking into the 2021 season?
I mean, you know, one thing, I came here to build a championship program. And in order for us to do that, that's just not the players and the coaches. That's the community. That's administration. Our administration, by giving me a new contract, have shown their commitment to what they want with women's basketball. Now it's the fan base. So you're going to see me really pushing to get fans' butts in the seats because people want that excitement. We need that sixth man. You're going to see a bunch of different things we're developing to get the fan support and fan base there. You're going to see a lot of new faces, but then you're going to see some familiar ones because our team was so young. You know, I thought we needed to beef up our guard play, especially from the point guard and combo position. We did that in the off season. Shakira is going to be putting herself out there so she can be a potential top draft pick. Madison is going to grow. I mean, it's going to be an exciting style of basketball. And hopefully you see a team that's focused and trying to play and build a resume that this time we won't be in discussion, but we'll be a sure in for the NCAA tournament.
Well, I, for one, am so excited to see where your team goes next year. Coach, thank you so much for sitting down with me today.